Ayeka, exploring the depths of Jewish wisdom together.
In the series of Drops from the Well, the past few months that we've been doing, what we're basically trying to do is find situations that happen in life, and as real life unfolds and real things happen, you follow Hasidic messages. So you got these lofty ideas that you learn, and then you discover how they can actually help you in real life. So today I want to talk about Teshuva. Teshuva is in Hebrew to return. And it's talking about someone who turned away from the path and has gone wrong and somehow wants to come back and return. And usually, when you're talking about Teshuva, so what does it mean? It means that you've done something wrong. You're in a state of disrepair. You're on the ground, knocked out. In the worst possible state could mean you're despondent. And Teshuva means that just when you think there's no hope and that it's over and done, that if you flip a switch inside yourself, you can return, you can change, and everything can be transformed completely. So there's a beautiful insight. There's the case, let's say, of Elisha ben Avuya. Now, Elisha ben Avuya was one of the Talmudic sages who was over. He became an apostate. He was infamous and went against everything that he ever learned and believed. Anyway, so Elisha ben Avuya was once traveling with his student Rabbi Meir, and Rabbi Meir says to him, "Why don't you come back and do tshuva?" And Elisha tells his former student, Rabbi Meir, he says, "Kvar shomati me'achorei ha'paragid," he says, he's a holy guy, right? He says, "I already heard, like behind the curtains, meaning in the heavenly, celestial realms, that they said that everyone can do tshuva. Shuva bonim shevavim chutz me'acher." Except for Acher. Acher means the other one. So Elisha ben Avuya was called the other one. He says, everyone can do tshuva, except for you, Elisha ben Avuya. And therefore, I'm done, I'm history, I cannot do teshuva. And it's similar to Paroi. Paroi, that's in this week's parasha. Hashem tells Moshe, he says, boil Paroi, come to Paroi, king of Egypt. And I'm telling you now that I have hardened his heart, and there's no way that Paroi is going to listen to you. And the reason is because I need to create a Pesach story. 10 plagues, all the fun and games, the miracles with Paroi. That means you should be able to have a story to tell to your son and your grandson and sit around the Pesach Seder and talk about the 10 plagues. If Paroi would listen immediately, there'd be no story. So Moshe is on his way to Paroi. Now, picture the scene. Moshe comes to Paroi and he's warning him, but Moshe knows that God is not letting him do Teshuva, so there's no way that Paroi is going to listen because his heart has been hardened. So it seems like a futile exercise of what he's doing by going to Paroi. And that's what it seems like to us when sometimes you're finished, your heart is hardened, and you seem like no way back, no way to do teshuva. Think about it in relationships, think about it in relationship with God. But God wouldn't do such a thing. He wouldn't just tell Moshe to go to Paroi and warn him if it's just for the fun and games. So here's the vart, here's the insight. In Tanya, in Igeres HaTshuva, he explains, he resolves an apparent contradiction. On the one hand, it says, Ein lecha davar ha'omed b'fnei tshuva. Nothing can ever stand in the face of teshuva. If a person wants to return, you can always return. Now, contrast that with another statement that the rabbis say, and that is that there are certain things a person can do that detach him so much that ein maspikin b'yodei lasis tshuva, which literally means God will not facilitate the ability to do teshuva. Now, we wrongly understand that to mean that you can't do teshuva, that it's not possible to do teshuva. So the Tanya explains that you're misunderstanding it. No, it's not saying you can't do teshuva. It's saying that sometimes you need a power from above, like an energy to do teshuva from above. No, God will not help you do teshuva. Sometimes you do something that's so bad. For example, a person decides that he's going to do the wrong thing because he knows that later on he can always go back on what he did. And so, Ein Maspikin B'Yadei La'asos Teshuva, God says the whole reason why you did the wrong was because you were anticipating you'd be able to come back afterwards. So he says, forget it, I'm not going to facilitate this Teshuva. It's not going to be possible to do Teshuva. So the Balatanya says that Ein Maspikin B'Yadei La'asos Teshuva, note, God's not going to help you do Teshuva. So tell him, I'm going to do Teshuva anyway. By the way, that's how you do Aveira. When a person does something wrong, he doesn't ask God how to do it. God says, don't do something, you do it. Do something wrong. So when you want to do Teshuva, it's pretty much the same thing. God says you can't do Teshuva, you say, oh, okay, I'm going to do anyway. That's what it is. Now, what does it take to get there? Meaning, Paroi, when he's being warned by Moshe, Moshe is telling him, if you don't do this, if you don't change your heart right now, plague of locusts is coming. As Paroi is being warned by Moshe, and God's hardening his heart, and he almost stands no chance, what he should have done is found a deeper space in his heart and said, no, I will not take no for an answer. What Elisha ben Avuya should have done is said, even though there's this voice, the heavenly voice above telling me that I can't do teshuva, I'm going to do teshuva anyway. Now I had an amazing experience once. I was sitting in Shul in Kippur. Some people daven, some people pray. They get into a real experience in Kippur. This particular Yom Kippur, I was watching in the Shul. I saw a guy. He was so intense. He was crying a whole day on Yom Kippur. And after Yom Kippur, he comes over to me right after Yom Kippur in the evening, and he says, listen, I'm out. I'm in this marriage for a few years and it's too difficult to handle and I'm out. Now I knew this guy and I was involved in the marriage, and he had actually a beautiful marriage. They loved each other, but for whatever reason she couldn't get over verbal abuse. That was her issue, and he couldn't take it, and he was just this very sweet, delicate kind of character, and he couldn't do it. So he tells me, I'm done, I'm over, and I realized it's real. Sometimes God helps. And I looked at him and I said, listen, maybe let's try one more tactic, okay? Because you're saying it's over, you're saying it's finished and you are ready to get divorced. Why don't we try this? Go over to her and say, my darling, I love you and I can't take it and I'm out. And you leave. Let's see what happens. Now, I was hoping something would touch her and that she'd be moved. But I thought it would take like a whole week or something. Here's what happened. That night, an hour later, he took her out. They went to a coffee shop. They're sitting down, him and her, opposite each other. And there's a whole bunch of people in the coffee shop. And he goes over and he says, my darling, I love you. I really do, honestly. And I can't take it in life. And I'm leaving tonight. I'm getting divorced from you. And the switch was almost immediate. It was like incredible. She listened, she internalized, she got the message, she's sitting opposite him, there's a whole bunch of people around, she starts sobbing profusely. She weeps and weeps and weeps. And something changed. She said to him, no way, I'm not letting you go. Promise, I'm changing, something's there. Now, it wasn't an empty promise. He really felt that there was some energy in between. And she could care less about all the people who were watching from all around this scene that was unfolding. And that night, she earned the connection back. That they developed a relationship that was incredible, that you just couldn't imagine such a relationship before. Most people in that kind of situation, you know what you would say? You'd say, listen, I'm done. Okay, you want out? Your ego against my ego. I'm going to show you. In this case, something changed. She took the message and she says, you're telling me that I can't do teshuva? Nothing stands in the way of teshuva. Even if I'm on the ground, I'm going to show you I can do teshuva. It's incredible to watch this glory of the human spirit. What Paroi didn't get, and just, okay, Hashem hardened his heart, And his heart became hardened. Elisha ben Abuya heard that God said there's no way to do tshuva, so he's okay, so you can't do teshuva. But what God really wants is people who get that when you get told no, don't take no for an answer. Even if God doesn't help you, he must speak beyond the last tshuva. Do tshuva anyway.